Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, from Week 10 college football predictions. So last week, I had a record of 12-4, which brings my overall record on the season to 132-31. Starting off this week, with the one game we have on Friday, that is Oregon State visiting Washington. So Oregon State's been pretty good this season. They have 2 losses, and one of them is to a close loss to USC, and the other is a loss to Utah. So both pretty good teams. And now Oregon State has their quarterback in the concussion protocol, and he might not play this week's game against Washington, but he's already missed a few games, and that has not affected Oregon State as they are still on a 3-game winning streak. Washington is a good underrated team. They have a great offense led by a great passing attack and a good quarterback in Michael Penix, who currently leads the country in passing yards with 2,934. And I think Washington has the better offense with or without Chance Nolan for Oregon State, and I have Washington getting the win here 35-31. Moving to Saturday's games, we have Northwestern hosting Ohio State. Northwestern is a really bad team. They have only one win, and that came in Week 0 in Ireland in August against Nebraska. And Ohio State is a really good team. They're currently undefeated, and I don't see their undefeated season ending in Northwestern. Ohio State should dominate every aspect of this game, winning 56-3. Up next, we have TCU hosting Texas Tech. So TCU is a really good team with a really good offense. Now they face a Texas Tech team that is 4-4, but they do have a win over Texas. So TCU's offense is really good, and the Texas Tech defense isn't that good. They give up about 30 points a game, so already that's not a very good matchup for Texas Tech. And Texas Tech does have a pretty good offense, so they might be able to keep up with TCU. But I don't think they're going to be able to completely keep up with them, as they'll be able to stay in the game, but they won't be able to be going score for score with a great TCU offense. So TCU wins this one 42-28. Moving on, we have North Carolina visiting Virginia. So North Carolina's been pretty good this season. They're 7-1, but only ranked 17th, and they really haven't played anybody that good. They have a great offense and a bad defense, and now they face a bad Virginia team, so their season of not playing that good teams continues, as Virginia is only 3-5, and North Carolina should dominate this game, winning 38-13. Up next, we have Tulane visiting Tulsa. So Tulane has been great this season. They're 7-1, and now they face Tulsa, who hasn't been that good. But this could be a very tough game for Tulane, as it could be a trap game with UCF coming up next on the schedule. I think this could be a close game, but I think Tulane is still able to get the win, and they're going to get the win here at 35-17. Up next, we have Colorado hosting Oregon. So this should not be a close game. Oregon is riding high on a 7-game winning streak, and Colorado is one of the worst teams in the country, as they're 1-7. The Oregon offense is great, and the Colorado defense is one of the worst defenses in the country. Oregon should absolutely dominate this game, winning this one 52-3. Up next, we have Indiana hosting Penn State. So Penn State no longer has a path to the Big Ten Championship after losing to Michigan and Ohio State. Indiana's been really bad this season, and they have a really bad run game, which has made their offense essentially one-dimensional. And now they face a pretty good secondary, which is already not a good matchup when Penn State also has a good run defense, and now they face a good pass defense as well. Penn State wants to run the ball, and they face one of the worst run defenses in the Big Ten. So I think Penn State should easily win this game, as they will defeat Indiana, winning easily by a score of 42-10. Up next, we have Michigan State at Illinois. So Illinois has been surprisingly good this season. They're 7-1 with the best defense in the country and an elite ground game led by Chase Brown. Michigan State has had trouble stopping the run. So obviously that's a bad matchup right there. And I don't really think Michigan State will find much offensive success against an elite Illinois defense. Illinois gets the win 26-13. Up next, we have Kansas hosting Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State is coming with a brutal 48-0 loss to Kansas State, where quarterback Spencer Sanders suffered a shoulder injury. Now Sanders is questionable for this week's game against Kansas, and for Kansas, their starting quarterback Jalon Daniels, who suffered a separated shoulder a few weeks ago against TCU, might have a chance to play, even though initial reports about the injury right after the game against TCU said he'd be out for the season. But Daniels himself said the reports were incorrect, and he actually warmed up last week against Baylor, although he did not end up playing. So now, if he ends up playing, that is huge for Kansas, who have not won since he has been out. And now, for this game, it really depends on who's playing quarterback for both teams. I need to know, is Spencer Sanders playing? Is Jalon Daniels playing? Are both playing, or neither playing? Is one playing? I really have no idea. But my prediction, if Spencer Sanders plays, Oklahoma State will get the win. If he is out, then Kansas will get the win because they have a pretty good backup quarterback, Jason Bean. Up next, we have Pitt hosting Syracuse. So Syracuse had a great start to the season, but once they got tested against Clemson and Notre Dame, they've lost both those games. Pitt also got off to a great start, going 3-1, but since then they've been just 1-4. Both teams want to run the ball. Each team's got a great running back. This could go either way, especially because Syracuse might be without quarterback Garrett Schrader after he left last week's game with an injury. But backup quarterback for Syracuse, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, was pretty good in relief of Schrader. In fact, I'm going to go with Syracuse getting the win here, 28-24. Up next, we have Georgia hosting Tennessee. The game of the week, the most highly anticipated game of the season so far. Tennessee goes to Athens to play Georgia in a very tough place to play. It is the ultimate test for Tennessee, ultimate test for Georgia. So Tennessee has one of the best offenses in the country. They have one of the most explosive offenses in the country. They average 49 points a game and 553 yards of total offense a game, both among best in the country. And now they go up against a great Georgia defense, which only gives up 10.5 points a game. The Georgia offense is also pretty good, averaging about 41 points a game, but they really haven't played anyone with a great defense, as the teams they've played: Oregon, Samford, South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Florida. Now, the Tennessee defense isn't amazing, but they've been improving each week. In fact, they're coming off a game where they just held Kentucky to 6 points. But the main story of this game is an elite Tennessee offense against an elite Georgia defense. And while Georgia's defense only gives up about 10 points a game, Alabama's defense only gave up about 10 points a game before Tennessee played them. And we all know what happened there. So, Tennessee proved against Alabama they can score against some of the top defense in the country. And I think they're going to be able to score against another top defense in the country in Georgia, because they use an up-tempo offense which could easily drain even some of the best defenses, which is why I think Tennessee will end up getting the win, as Georgia's defense will eventually not be able to stop the Tennessee offense. And while Georgia's offense is good, they will not be able to keep up with Tennessee's offense. Tennessee wins this one, handing Georgia their first loss of the season, and Tennessee wins in Georgia 49-41. Up next, we have Memphis hosting UCF. So UCF is coming off a big win over Cincinnati, and now they face a decent Memphis team before going to Tulane next week. So this could be a trap game for UCF. And UCF is a team that wants to run the ball. They average almost 250 rushing yards a game. And Memphis has a solid run defense, but overall defense for Memphis is horrible, so UCF should get the win here, 27-17. Moving on, we have Kansas State hosting Texas. So Kansas State is coming off a massive 48-0 win over Oklahoma State, and they didn't even have their starting quarterback, Adrian Martinez. But after that performance from Kansas State, they really don't need their starting quarterback, as backup quarterback Will Howard proved he could certainly lead the team to a win. And now, either quarterback could, I feel, lead them to a victory over Texas. But Texas is coming off a bye after a loss to Oklahoma State. Kansas State has a great rushing attack. They've ridden that to victory for the majority of the season. And Texas is okay at stopping the run, but the Texas offense is pretty good. But now they face a good defense in Kansas State. So I'm going to go with Kansas State getting the win here at 35-34, but I could easily see this game going either way. Up next, we have LSU hosting Alabama. So Alabama enters a tough 2-game period where they go to LSU and then they go to Ole Miss. So LSU's been pretty good this season, aside from a horrible loss to Tennessee and a 1-point loss in the season opener against Florida State. Their offense is starting to get going as they've hit 40 points in back-to-back games, and quarterback Jaden Daniels has been pretty good, especially in the last few games. But now LSU goes up against Alabama, and even though Alabama lost to Tennessee, I still think they have a very, very good team, and I think they're a lot better than LSU. So Alabama will get the victory here, winning 38-27. Up next, we have Michigan visiting Rutgers. So Michigan's been pretty good this season. They've played their style of football, playing good defense and running the ball. And that is exactly what they need to do against Rutgers to lead them to victory. And now while Rutgers does have a pretty good defense, eventually Michigan will just be able to wear down their defensive front. And I don't think Rutgers will be able to score much against a good Wolverines defense. So Michigan will get the win here, 27-3. Up next, we have Utah hosting Arizona. So Utah beat Washington State last week, but Cam Rising missed that game with a knee injury, And we don't know if he will play this week against Arizona. I personally think he will. And I'm going to predict this game as if Cam Rising will play this game. So, both teams have pretty good offenses, but I feel this game gets decided on defense. Utah's got a pretty good defense, allowing almost 20 points a game, while Arizona's defense is pretty bad, and they allow almost 40 points a game. So I have Utah getting the win here, 45-21. Up next, we have Clemson visiting Notre Dame. So Notre Dame's been very inconsistent this season. They're coming off back-to-back wins over UNLV and Syracuse. And Clemson has been pretty good this season. They're coming off a bye week. And when you look at these two teams record-wise, it seems like Clemson is the much better team. But really, these teams are very similar. Both teams want to run the ball, and they haven't had great quarterback play. Both teams also have good defenses. And if Clemson is going to lose a regular season game, it will be this game. Notre Dame has been pretty good against ACC opponents this season. They've beaten North Carolina and Syracuse convincingly, scoring 40-plus points in both those games. And now, I don't think the winner of this game scores over 40 points. I can see this game going either way, but I'll take Clemson getting the win here, 27-24. Up next, we have NC State hosting Wake Forest. So NC State's been pretty good this season, but they are without starting quarterback Devin Leary for the remainder of the season. And then backup Jack Chambers wasn't good, so they turned to true freshman MJ Morris, who played a great game last week, leading the team in a comeback victory over Virginia Tech. But the NC State offense wasn't that great with Devin Leary as their quarterback, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with a great Wake Forest offense. And I have Wake Forest bouncing back from a bad loss to Louisville last week, defeating NC State, winning 31-20. Up next, we have USC hosting Cal. So Cal got off to a pretty good start this season at 2-1, but they've dropped 4 straight, including a loss to a 1-win Colorado team, and their 1 win is against Cal. And USC has 1 loss, but it's because of their defense. And they should not have to worry about their defense this game because Cal has a really bad offense. USC should easily win this one, winning 42-10. And our final game of the week, we have Arizona State hosting UCLA. So UCLA is having a great season so far. Their only loss is to Oregon. And they have an offense that scores over 40 points a game. And they face a pretty bad Arizona State team whose defense isn't that bad, but it's also not that good. So I don't think Arizona State also doesn't have the offense to keep up with UCLA. So UCLA easily wins this one 37-17. So those are my Week 10 college football predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know who you think will win the Tennessee-Georgia game in the comments below. Let me know if you agree with my predictions, disagree, and why. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out the community tab of my channel where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.